And we hate the rich. Anyway. Too much. Aren't you the rich?
Fortunately, we live in such a self-centered, capitalistic society. Anyways, how are you guys doing, my loves? If you think I'm a billionaire, you cookie bean. I'm so sorry. Ba-da-da-da. If I ever was a billionaire, I wouldn't be a billionaire for more than a day. I would give away most of my money. But I also think that's most people.
Hello, my fellow unemployed binge watchers. Before I got unemployed, I wasn't much of a binge watcher since I had a job, of course. After I got unemployed, I stopped taking life too seriously and stuff like that. I embarked on this YouTube, Twitch, Reddit, and I added Twitter on the list just because I can an unemployed scapegoat. And this is what I have found out so far. People keep treating this story like it's about one scandal, one bad clip, one mistake that spiraled out of control and suddenly ended everything. But that's not what actually happened. This story is slower than that, messier than that, and honestly more revealing than the usual streamer drama cycle. What happens here isn't a single explosion, it's a long erosion. And the first thing that erodes isn't fame, it's trust. Once that trust starts slipping, every future moment gets interpreted through the worst possible lens.
Bro got 2 PCs, 2 cats, 3 monitors, 3 apartments, 6 phones. And what about...
PewDiePie actually hit the nail right on the head.
So in a way, I can understand why you want to take down this video.
But again, PewDiePie was in the right by saying...
But the problem here is that you're just drawing more attention to it.
I wish this and I wish that and I wish I did this and I wish they did that and blah 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 blah.
Trying to hide all that drama only ended up bringing more attention to it. Again, in the moment, I was just doing that because I thought it was something that would calm down all the drama. Although I was legally within my right to take down the video, morally and as a content creator, it wasn't something that I should have done because I mean, at the end of the day, those were tweets that me and Keem made publicly and videos that we made publicly. So I totally apologize for that.
That's why the Streisand effect matters so much in this story. It's the same mistake repeated in different forms. Trying to control the narrative, trying to hide something uncomfortable, trying to shut down conversation. And every time someone does that online, especially someone whose entire career is built on attention, it never buries the story. It only makes it louder. Even when people understand the impulse, even when the move is legal, even when it's technically within someone's rights. The moment you have influence, the moment your power can shape what others are allowed to say, it stops being a technical argument and turns into a moral one.
To be fair, I actually can't believe anyone would sponsor these shenanigans. Wait, we saw this, right? Ah! Anyways, how are you guys doing, my loves? If you think I'm a billionaire, you cookie bean. I'm so sorry. Ba-da-da-da. If I ever was a billionaire, I wouldn't be a billionaire for more than a day. I would give away most of my money. But I also think that's most people.
The backlash described here doesn't begin with people randomly deciding they hate someone famous. It begins with a contradiction that becomes impossible to ignore once enough eyes are watching. In 2019, that first crack shows up around copyright claims. Not just that claims were filed, but how they were filed. Claims against videos that mentioned her, sometimes using nothing more than screenshots or short clips. What made people react so strongly was the irony. Her own content leaned heavily on reaction-style streams, while she was actively limiting how others could reference her.
Practice called noting.
The rich? No! Like the ultra rich, the ultra giga rich,
You have to
unnecessarily
clarify.
rich.
They're gonna clip that and it's gonna make you look bad.
Oh,
You
the
gotta
ultra
say
giga
the billionaires.
the billionaires.
you are rich.
The Bezos.
Don't look at the price. Don't look at the price. But guys, they are works of art. Let's be so for real.
I planned a vacation for around this time, but I honestly should not have taken any time off prior to acknowledging or addressing or apologizing for these things. I'm very, very sorry, and I'll make sure that in the future, if I am to comment on any part of a video, it's just its actual contents, not the sponsors, and also not to encourage my community or my viewers to leave any sort of negative feedback.
Once an audience labels something hypocrisy, it doesn't really go away. You can apologize once, you can explain once, but you can't erase the label. You can only stop feeding it. That's why the moment involving the recap video tied to earlier drama hits so hard. The internet doesn't just watch it, it snaps, because the move looks less like protection and more like leverage.
Is that you're just drawing more attention to it. It's the Streisand effect every single time. The more you try and hide something, the more people are gonna find out about it. All these people that I brought up today have examples of using other people's content for their own content. They could all get copyright striked just the same way they copyright strike other people or claim their videos.
That's when other commentary creators step in, and the one that matters most here is Purify. Not because he's the loudest, but because he's calm. He doesn't scream. He doesn't insult. He lays out why abusing copyright tools is dangerous, not just for viewers, but for creators as a whole. He frames it as a warning, not an attack, and that calm tone is exactly what makes the critique spread. Reasonable criticism travels further than rage ever does.
So basically this Twitter drama became an even bigger drama thanks to the YouTube algorithm. So in a way, I can understand why you want to take down this video, because this selected thing blows up and becomes even bigger.
Then something rare happens. She responds publicly, she admits she was wrong, she apologizes instead of doubling down, and for a moment the internet respects it. This part matters because it shows people weren't eager for her downfall. They were willing to forgive. At that point, this could have ended as a lesson learned. A creator got called out, took it seriously, changed course, and moved on. In my view, this was the cleanest exit ramp she was ever going to get. The problem is what comes next, because the documents make it clear that the lesson didn't stick. And once the audience realizes apologies are pauses instead of change, they stop resetting their expectations. They start waiting for the next incident.
Like, how are you gonna say this shit and then go to YouTube?
The wealth disparity is getting bad.
The wage gap, I hate that shit.
No, wealth disparity.
Wealth disparity.
Wage gap is like between men and women. Men and women, we love each other.
That's
And we hate the rich.
Or we could talk about her other close friends that took stake deals that gambled on a daily, which ended up using more of their audience than I did for Gamba, and actually had more stream hours on the sites than I did. What about those? Oh, okay. Those aren't morally and ethically bad.
In 2020, the narrative shifts into something far more uncomfortable. It stops being just about copyright and creator ethics and turns into a conversation about parasocial behavior, money, and power. When It's a Gundam releases a video that includes a private conversation between two fans, one detail hits like a gut punch. One fan admits to donating $1,000 while being 4 months behind on rent. That detail matters because it exposes how far some people go to feel seen by someone on a screen. Gundam frames it as parasocial obsession, the belief that enough money, enough loyalty, enough support could somehow turn into real closeness, maybe even a relationship. That's when the story stops being entertaining and starts feeling dangerous. At the same time, criticism expands to her content style, claims that it relies on reaction videos, recycled trends, and whatever is already popular. Whether someone agrees with that critique isn't even the point. Once the argument exists, it becomes a lens. Every clip becomes evidence. Every success looks undeserved to critics who already believe hype is doing the heavy lifting. Then comes the moment where criticism turns into fear. She responds on stream and goes beyond calling out the creator. She publicly calls out the sponsor of his video. That's when people start talking about power, because a massive streamer can apply pressure in ways smaller creators can't defend against. Targeting sponsorship doesn't feel like debate. It feels like a threat to someone's livelihood. The backlash intensifies when her fans flood the critic's content with hate, almost proving the parasocial argument in real time. Instead of addressing the criticism directly, the focus shifts to shutting the conversation down. And when people push back, the framing becomes about misinformation and what should or shouldn't be sponsored. Even if some of that is true, once income is involved, people stop hearing principles and start hearing intimidation. This is where goodwill takes a serious hit. Audiences can forgive mistakes. What they struggle to forgive is behavior that looks like it comes from a place of superiority, like consequences are optional when you're big enough.
No, and it's not because I got like $10 million. It's just because I'm good as I am. Why would I compromise my morals and ethics for more money when I have money? Something about that is so cringe to me personally. Like I understand, you know, if you need to make money, for me to do cringe shit when I have I can't. Like, ew.
Then comes the live stream incident. The exact content of what appears on screen matters far less than how the platform responds. Twitch, known for banning creators over far smaller issues, does nothing. No suspension, not even temporary. Later, she says she received a warning. When she jokes that it at least made a good meme, the tone shifts completely. For critics, this becomes the clearest example yet of favoritism. That's when the word privilege starts sticking. And once that label lands, every future controversy gets filtered through the belief that the system will protect her anyway. Slowly, she she stops feeling relatable, even to people who defended her for years. Not because she became a villain overnight, but because the power gap becomes visible. By the end of this phase, the meaning of career ended becomes clearer. It doesn't mean disappearance. It means the end of automatic trust, the end of the shield, the end of benefit of the doubt. And the story isn't done yet.
If I ever was a billionaire, I wouldn't be a billionaire for more than a day. I would give away most of my money.
This is cancer.
When Leafy enters the picture, the tone shifts again. His content thrives on provocation, repetition, and humiliation. He releases wave after wave of videos. While much of it is exaggerated, it lands on an audience already primed to believe something is wrong. The boyfriend rumor spreads instantly. What makes it explosive isn't the claim itself, it's the reaction. Some of the loudest anger comes from her own fans, not because she owed anyone access to her personal life, but because an illusion collapses. And illusions collapse violently when people realize they emotionally invested in something that never existed. From here on out, humor stops landing. Jokes feel dismissive. Silence feels suspicious. When she announces a break for mental health instead of cooling things down, it's seen as leaving when accountability is expected. When she returns early and apologizes, it helps, but it doesn't reset anything anymore. Then comes the cookie brand. Meant to bring her closer to fans, it does the opposite. The price shocks people. Comparisons surface. Manufacturing details come out. But the real damage comes from her response to people who say they can't afford it. It sounds out of touch. Even neutral creators say it feels disconnected. The apology that follows sounds familiar. Humor taken the wrong way, again.
When people are like, oh my god, $28 for cookies? It's 4 bags. That's $7 a bag. I know math is hard when you're an idiot, but like if you're a broke boy, just say so.
I don't know what would possess her to say something so rude and nasty to the audience she is trying to sell this product to directly shame the consumer that you want to buy into your product is a galaxy brain tactic. A strategy that I'm not sure the success rate.
After that, the Kick and XQC situation adds another layer. Skeptical comments, viral clips, framing backlash as sexism, double standards being called out, private messages revealed publicly. Each moment reinforces the same belief. That influence is being protected, that accountability is selective. Leaving Twitch doesn't fix it, the Paris stream doesn't fix it, the wealth comments don't fix it, and when she tells people to believe the victims, old clips resurface. Contradictions become impossible to ignore. Apologies stop working because they don't feel complete. This is where the story ends. Not with a ban, not with disappearance, but with a shift, a permanent one.
Keep doubting Kick, it's already taken over. Fire emoji. Respectfully, people that say stuff like this, you don't understand that Kick makes Twitch money. Like, Kick is using Twitch's services. And if Twitch really wanted, they could just stop giving these services to Kick. But right now, they're just sitting back like, thanks, I guess.
Her career didn't end in the way people usually mean it. What ended was the era where goodwill could absorb mistakes. The shield is gone. From here on out, trust isn't automatic. It has to be rebuilt slowly, carefully, and under a harsher light. And that's the part people don't come back from easily. By the time this next phase begins, something subtle but irreversible has already happened. The audience is no longer reacting to individual moments. They are reacting to a pattern they believe they understand. From here on out, perception starts moving faster than facts, and once that happens, even silence feels suspicious, and even clarification sounds defensive. This is the phase where the story stops being about copyright, policies, or platform rules and turns into something far more volatile. Identity, expectation, and the parasocial contracts that were never officially agreed to, but were emotionally enforced for years. When Leafy enters the picture, the tone of the backlash shifts sharply. His content doesn't rely on careful breakdowns or measured warnings. It thrives on provocation, repetition, and humiliation as spectacle. He releases wave after wave of videos aimed directly at Pokimane, attacking her content, her influence, and her role in the space. Much of it is exaggerated and intentionally inflammatory, but it doesn't land in a vacuum. It lands on an audience already primed to believe something is off, already trained to expect deflection instead of accountability, already watching for proof that earlier apologies didn't lead to real change. The most explosive claim from this period isn't even about content or money. It's the rumor that she secretly secretly has a boyfriend. There's no real proof offered, but that doesn't slow anything down. The claim spreads instantly. What makes this moment matter isn't the truth of it, it's the reaction. Some of the loudest outrage doesn't come from critics or rival creators, it comes from parts of her own audience. That's where the parasocial damage fully reveals itself. The anger is rooted in a sense of betrayal, even though no promise was ever made. That contradiction exposes how deeply some viewers blurred the line between entertainer and emotional stand-in. This moment makes something very clear. It was never about her owing anyone access to her personal life. It was about the collapse of an illusion, and illusions collapse violently when people realize they invested real emotions into something imaginary. Once that illusion breaks, everything she does is reinterpreted through resentment instead of admiration. Even harmless humor starts being read as avoidance or mockery. When she jokes about the rumor using a cardboard cutout, it doesn't land. The audience isn't in a mood to laugh anymore, they want clarity. And humor at that moment feels dismissive. When she announces a break from streaming to focus on her mental health, it should be a reset, but the timing works against her. Instead of being seen as self-care, critics interpret it as walking away when accountability is expected. That perception follows her into what was supposed to be a cooling off period. The pressure doesn't die down, and when she returns earlier than planned, the apology video finally addresses the backlash directly. She admits leaving before speaking was a mistake. She acknowledges that calling out a sponsor crossed a line. It helps, but by this point, apologies no longer reset the narrative. They only slow it. For a while, things calm down. Streams continue. The outrage cycles move on. It looks like the story might finally fade into internet history. But then comes the moment that arguably does the most long-term damage to her public image. Not because it's the loudest controversy, but because it reframes her relationship with her audience in a way that feels permanent. In 2023, she launches her healthy cookie brand, presented as a passion project meant to bring her closer to fans. Instead, it becomes a lightning rod. The price alone shocks people. $28 for 4 cookies immediately feels out of touch to supporters who watched her rise from early grinding streams to millionaire status. Then people start digging. Comparisons surface. The cookies look nearly identical to another brand. The same manufacturer is traced. Accusations spread that the product is being flipped at a massive markup. She defends herself by explaining the costs, the ingredients, and the time spent developing the brand. But the explanation doesn't stop the criticism. What truly shifts public opinion isn't the manufacturing debate. It's her response to people who say they can't afford the product. It comes off as dismissive and disconnected. Even creators who weren't aligned with her earlier critics step in and say it sounds out of touch. The apology that follows feels familiar. Humor taken the wrong way. Again, from this point on, cynicism replaces patience. Apologies stop restoring trust and start reinforcing the belief that nothing fundamentally changes. Not long after, the focus shifts again, this time to her stance on Kick and her interaction with XQC. When XQC announces his massive deal, reportedly worth around $100 million, the entire streaming world is watching. Instead of congratulating him, she reacts skeptically, suggesting Kick is just printing Twitch money and could be shut down at any time. XQC responds by pointing out that Kick runs on Amazon infrastructure and that Amazon is far larger than Twitch alone. The exchange could have ended there, but a clip goes viral. Instead of clarifying her argument, she reframes the backlash as sexism, saying the criticism exists because she's a woman. For many viewers, this feels like another deflection, another moment where substance is replaced with a framing that shuts down discussion. When asked whether she'd move to Kick for $10 million, her response keeps the controversy alive instead of cooling it down. XQC pushes back again, calling out what he sees as double standards, especially when it comes to Amazon's long-standing gambling partnerships. The situation escalates further when Valky publicly congratulates XQC and later reveals that Pokimane privately messaged her, expressing surprise that she'd support something tied to gambling. To the audience, this looks like moral pressure applied behind the scenes rather than a public stance. When Pokimane explains herself afterward, the explanation doesn't land. The perception hardens that this isn't about ethics. It's about struggling to accept a shift in influence. Her decision to step away from her exclusive Twitch contract adds another layer. On her podcast, she frames it as a response to changes in Twitch culture and the normalization of misogyny and toxic masculinity by large male creators. The statement splits opinion instantly. Some praise her for speaking up. Others point out Twitch's long history of protecting her while punishing smaller creators for less. That context makes the victim framing harder for many to accept. Critics argue this isn't about toxicity at all. It's about a platform whose meta has moved on. Reaction-heavy content no longer dominates the way it once did. Even creators who aren't hostile to her say the shift feels strategic rather than principled. Then comes the Paris stream in 2025. Streaming from the streets of Paris with another creator, she makes comments about wealth that strike viewers as deeply ironic given her own status. When the irony is pointed out live, she doubles down instead of recalibrating. Clips spread instantly. Another clip clip surfaces showing her casually spending hundreds on designer mugs. The contrast becomes impossible to ignore. By this point, credibility is thin. Viewers stop treating her opinions as thoughtful positions and start seeing them as convenient stances that change depending on the moment. That pattern becomes impossible to overlook. The final major rupture comes when she publicly tells people to believe the victims during a high-profile trial. Almost immediately, critics resurface old clips where she mocked Amber Heard during a previous case. The contradiction hits hard. Her apology explaining the clips were deleted long ago doesn't satisfy people who now want direct accountability rather than general statements. The backlash turns satirical. Replies fill with exaggerated fake accusations, meant to demonstrate how meaningless broad moral declarations can become online. This is where the story truly ends. Not with a ban, not with disappearance, but with a permanent shift in perception. Her career didn't end in the dramatic way people usually imagine. What ended was the era where goodwill could absorb mistakes. The shield is gone. The benefit of the doubt is gone. From here on out, every move exists under a harsher light, where trust has to be rebuilt slowly instead of assumed. And that's the kind of ending most creators never see coming until it's already happened.